stars New Filter, New Me. I spent a lot of time on hold in the car, and Herb Alpert's Rise was on repeat. Da na 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 na. Anyone who grew up on General Hospital, Luke and Laura knows that song because it was the theme to the, was it Seduction or was it Essay on the Floor of the Disco? Iconic. So many storylines, such an important couple to the show, but I think anyone who grew up in the Americas and knows the harsh reality of whether it's chattel slavery or any other kind of hacienda exploitation, there is essay happening and you have to somehow accommodate it, put a smile on your face, and go along with it for you and your family to survive, right? Whether that's during slavery, during emancipation, Jim Crow era, all this, forgive me, Diddy, allegedly, Jay-Z, allegedly, that island with that man and Ghislaine Maxwell, all that stuff is an accommodation of patriarchy. And everyone is kind of acculturated to go along with it and put a smile on their face and go along with it. And that includes all that Me Too stuff, how many people act like they didn't see it, act like they didn't know, act like it's okay. It's a difference of opinion. Everyone has their own version. They don't believe victims. They can't believe it because he's such a nice guy. Whatever the excuse is, on some level, we have been acculturated to think it's okay, or there's different shades of gray, or, like those books, like it's somehow kinky or erotic or okay, or you just need to understand him. He was just so passionate. But am I wrong in my recollection of what went down between Luke and Laura on that disco dance floor? The relationship in the story world is so real and so powerful, but I want to acknowledge and admit that part of it was toxic masculinity, and in the moment it seemed to me like she was physically and emotionally overpowered. I will tell you something that I had to go through a certain kind of training in order to do a certain kind of work, and it was about abuse. And I was telling a friend of mine the other day, like, one of the most powerful insights in the whole thing was that, grooming is not just, oh, I'm nice to you, I give you presents. Grooming is also, it often starts with bullying, putting you down, making you think you're not worth being loved, being treated well, being given an opportunity to consent. Oh, he'll make that decision for you. Oh, he's in charge. He's a real man. He's a whatever. Like, if you go back and watch those clips of that relationship and how that pair got together, I believe that Laura's character was married to lawyer Scotty Baldwin, either at the time or before. Soap is always very, like, juicy and sensual and forbidden, and what is that stuff called? Black Confessions, all those old magazines like your aunt would read, where it was like these, like, kind of juicy, sensual stories, and, kind of displaying a lot of not vanilla aspects. And certainly that dance floor scene with the Herb Alpert song was not vanilla. But I think there was something so powerful about the storytelling, because I think that a lot of us recognize and we kind of vibe with our mothers and grandmothers and aunts and everyone who watched it, in recognizing it can be the nice guy. It can be the guy you know. It can be the guy you like. And maybe the leap of faith that a lot of women and men take is to think that someone who would do that to you really does love you, really is your partner. It really is worth being whatever. I mean, you think about what allegedly Ivana Trump said about her husband. And Ivana Trump is now buried on her ex-husband's golf course like a cat. The in-court claims were that she was essayed in the course of the marriage, and there's been, just all this activity to erase that from the public record, and certainly to erase old girl. But I think that the reality of patriarchal violence makes us recognize how real, how common, how culturally celebrated. You think about all the art, all the Greek mythology, Roman mythology, other kinds of mythology, all that stuff about Rome and slaves and this and that, where people were encouraged to accommodate the master and be willing, and even, have that kind of Stockholm syndrome where you fall in love with the master, as it were. Am I imagining something? Am I right on the money? But I have to tell you, that song, Herb Alpert, it's a great song, and certainly it gets played in other contexts, but hearing it over and over and over again, my mind went right back to that essay. And that's what it seemed to be to me. And I am not in any way shaming the show for depicting that, because at least it was a depiction from a woman's perspective. How many essays did we have to sit through in Spike Lee movies? How many essays do we have to sit through in any number of police procedurals from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, where often as a young girl, your first introduction to the notion that someone on the city bus might do something like that or down a dark alley is through a depiction of that in, serialized fictional television. But I think that there is a resonance with reality that is important for us all to recognize. But whether you are victim, perpetrator, future victim, future perpetrator, past victim, past perpetrator, it's clear that this dynamic, one person having power over the other and it being justified, one person being forced to romanticize or accommodate SA, and then all the energy about covering it up and making it okay. How is it that POTUS has millions of dollars in payouts for hiring and assaulting, and it's okay? People vote for him, no problem. And it is not top of mind. People aren't worried about it. They're not carrying on about it. They are, in fact, super comfortable, almost in the sense that the violence, the manipulation, the lying reassure them that he is going to be able and willing to do anything to get himself what he wants, and maybe he'll do that on their behalf, right? The ruthlessness. I want what I want. I don't care what you want. I don't give a GD about your rights and what's right. All I care about is me, my people, and what I want, right? We're seeing that all play out, but again, the romanticization, the pedestalization of that kind of supremacy, that kind of patriarchy, that kind of violence, and making it into art. I mean, it's been part of our culture for decades. Like, you read the Bible, like the parts of the Bible you're not supposed to read, and it is super clear that that's exactly what's going on, right? In any case, that's what my thoughts are based on that particular show, which is a great show, and it keeps going, and I think it's partially because of how the show reflects women's lives and tells the truth, and men's lives. I mean, certainly Michael Quartermain was essayed in prison by one of the other beloved characters, and just the fact that they make it part of the fabric of human life, and it's not some exotic thing and some special thing that only happens to certain people who, quote, deserve it and all that. It's it's quite amazing, and it definitely gives you something to think about. Let's Let me know what you think.